School Board of Education. This meeting is available in English and Spanish. Would the translator please give instructions on the services available?
Absolutely. Muy buenas noches. Para escuchar la junta en español, haga clic en el icono de interpretación que se encuentra en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Seleccione español y haga clic en Mute, Original Audio, o silenciar el audio original. Muchas gracias. Good evening. To listen to the meeting in Spanish, click on the interpretation icon on the bottom of your screen. Choose Spanish and then click on Mute Original Audio. Thank you.
Thank you. Please note that a recording is being made at the direction of the board and that the recording may capture sounds of those attending the meeting. I see that all board members, except for Michelle Maginot, are present, so we can begin. Now we have the approval, item 2, approval of the agenda. If there's any member of the public who'd like to speak on this item, which is just the approval of the agenda, please use the raised hand feature, seeing no one present in the room. Nope, okay. Not seeing any board, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I want to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion, board? Okay, let's vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, chair votes aye. With that, the motion passes. We're on to item 3, public comments on closed session items. I don't see anyone in the room. Are there people online? There are, okay. So public comments on closed session items. Time limits allocated to public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for public comments. Speakers are asked to give their name and affiliations so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. Per board bylaw 9323, the board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, programs, services, acts, or omissions. I realize I'm speaking a little fast, so I was trying to slow down. During public comment, we encourage speakers to discuss issues with civility, to treat people whose opinions differ from their own with respect, and to focus on ideas, policies, and values. Is there any member of the public who has a comment on closed session items? None? Okay. Seeing none, we are going to convene to closed session. When we come back, we'll report out and we'll begin open session at 7:00 p.m. Thank you. Yay. Okay, that was exciting.
Yeah.
Ethan is, I think they're up 2 sets. It's just been a day.
Oh, no.
It is. Kind of nice every once in a while. I know it's like kind of dry, but also. And now it's Sunday night. I didn't get here. It's a weekly, it's really switch data. Every $40. Maybe like mine. I should be here. Were you?
All right, we are reconvening to open session at 7:05 p.m. This meeting is available in English and Spanish. Would the translator please give instructions on translation services available?
Buenas noches. Se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para soporte en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración. Good evening. The Zoom interpretation feature will be used in this Zoom meeting for English and Spanish support. All participants on this call must select their language of preference by clicking the language when the host turns on the interpretation feature. This is found in the world icon located on your feature panel. Interpretation for this meeting will be conducted simultaneously. Thank you for your attention and collaboration.
Thank you. Okay, for those of you joining now, please note that a recording is being made at the direction of the board and that the recording may capture sounds of those attending the meeting. Item 5A, closed session announcements. The board met in closed session to discuss superintendent performance evaluation and to conference with our labor negotiator. No action was taken. Item 5B, flag salute. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 6, comments from the board and superintendent. Tonight, we're just going to go down the line as usual. Let's start with Nancy.
Hello, I wanted to thank staff and my colleagues. These 2 weeks have been intense with having meetings and a weekend retreat and another meeting within a week of one another. And so I appreciate the additional time it's taken for staff and for my fellow board members to be responsive, responsible, and handle all of the additional materials that are coming in. And I thank you. I'll send in other comments later, but I just wanted to share my appreciation for all the teamwork that's taking place.
Thank you. Is Michelle joining us for open session? No, okay. Jeff?
No comments.
Isabel?
Yes, well, we didn't, general comments during the board, we didn't do general comments during the board development meetings that we had last week, which were very extensive, 2 days of work. Very useful though for the well-being of the district. But since the last meeting, we had the Health and Wellness Committee, and we've been talking about, well, all the topics that we were talking last month. We were checking on how everything's working and the well-being of the students and all the programs that are right now in each of the schools. Then we had, of course, the Staff Appreciation Week. We were working very hard for the last few months to make sure that all our teachers feel very appreciated, but we also work a lot on the SMS, which Bria and I have been working for the last few months, and we were doing a lot of events and a lot of decorations. Then the open houses started last week, so I've been going to one each day. Bishop open house was a lot of people. It was a lot of families were there. There were stands for different programs that were acting at school, and very happy everybody. They were giving books in the library, and they were having a lot of family activities. The Hofwar Awards came also last week when we're looking at successful programs in the county, recognizing them, learning from them, and they were having awards about that. So it was a good way to know how everybody was working and have feedbacks between all the different districts in the area. Then I had some emergency to go to the Acknowledge Alliance Forget Me No event. Sorry about that, Aliyah. I will say that. Then we have the governance meetings where we work very hard on our district policies and handbook. Then there was the SMS open house on Tuesday. It was very well attended, and we had a little preview of how the new SMS music program is working. We had a little concert, and actually there will be another concert on Monday. If anyone is interested to check how the development of the music program at SMS has been working in the last year, so we'll see how the kids are doing on Monday. Then yesterday was the Vargas open house. It was huge. Everybody was there. They had a lot of people in the back. They had a lot of programs. They were giving free T-shirts per sizes to the kids. They were giving a lot of free stuff. There was Project Cornerstone. There was food. There was ice cream. They were doing the book fair at the library. And everybody was very engaged, and I saw kids doing craft and parents, and it was a great event. I haven't seen that many people active in the community in any school until yesterday. I mean, I was seeing a lot of people, but yesterday was like, wow, like pre-pandemic. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's what I can see on my scale thing.
So much. So great. I sent in my comments for all my activities and meetings and things, but I did have just 2 quick comments to share. The first is that Staff Appreciation Week, Teacher Appreciation Week, Certificated Employees Week. This is the time of year when we're celebrating all of our staff, and it's just a really joyous time, and it's a really important time for acknowledgement, and so. I love being a part of that in any way I can. Would like going to the Certificated Employee Barbecue, Classified Employee Barbecue, and we did a bunch of activities at SMS and at some of the schools, but I just like hearing about it. And if you haven't showered people who are education professionals, or work in a school environment with lots of carbohydrates and caffeine recently, it's not too late. They're accepting those at any time. And it's just like a lot of joy and love. So it's really wonderful. So congratulations and thank you to everybody. And then the second thing is, you know, as the board is starting to get emails about summer food programs, and I believe as a board and a district, we have an interest in addressing summer nutritional needs as much as we possibly can, partnering with our partners that we keep working with and with our own staff. So, you know, I would just like to say that, you know, I'm hoping we can get the maximum amount of food out to the families who need it. And, you know, hopefully I know that Michelle and Isabel and I and we've all advocated in one way or another for the nutritional waivers to keep extending. We know the federal programs are changing and some things are running out. So we know it's really challenging, but I just hope that we can get that communication out because summer's coming. So, and I'm really grateful for all the work the district does with all the community partners and with our food services staff. So, Dr. Gallagher.
Okay. A couple updates and some recognitions, which are going to be kind of fun. So first of all, just a brief update on summer school. This coming year, or it's actually within weeks, we're going to have summer school at Columbia Middle School, Vargas, Bishop, and San Miguel. Enrollment this year is already above last year's high number, so we're already at 825. We've filled the elementary programs, but saying that, there's always some that drop out. So if families were interested, there's a possibility they could still get in. We started with targeted students or targeted families and did outreach to them. And then after we exhausted that, then we let others in. So, and there's still about 60 spots in middle school. Is that right? Oh, yeah. So that's good. Also, something we started, I think, a couple of years ago, which sounds like, why didn't we always do it this year? Always do it this way, but we have our extended school year, which is our special education program, at the same time and on the same campuses as our general education, which allows for more inclusion and just makes sense. I don't even understand why we have to explain that, but that's what we're doing now. I'm going to give a brief COVID update. You've seen in the news, and you've probably seen it in the community, that there is an uptick in COVID in the broader community, actually in the country, I think. We're fortunate here. We've actually kind of been recognized informally as a model testing program. So we're still testing, close to 1,000 people a day?
925 a day on average.
Okay, 925 people a day on average, which is a huge percentage of our overall population. So actually the state and the county kind of will look at like what's happening here. It's a good bellwether. We know what's going on with COVID here better than other communities. Other districts aren't being as thorough with the testing as we are, so that's good. On a meeting with the county health department, they kind of shared what schools should be doing right now given this uptick, and they kind of listed 4 things. And one of them schools can't do, but the other 3 we can. So we need to reiterate, we will again on our Monday message, strongly recommending the wearing of masks in indoor spaces. So that's been true all along, but it's especially true now, this strong recommendation for masks indoor. Testing, which I just described, we're a model district in that. The third part is the part that districts don't handle, but that's to get treatment when you're test positive for COVID. So the way I would interpret that in our environment is to encourage families, if there's a case of COVID, to contact your family doctor or the health department to see what's the best course of action and potential treatment for you. And then the final one is to get vaccinated and boosted and to keep up on that. That's just critical. It certainly mitigates the effect of COVID and prevents it in many cases. So those are the 4 things. Okay, so that's the COVID update. Just found out this afternoon that the district is receiving a $200,000 planning grant for community school, for this community school plan. So we're excited about that, aren't we, Dr. Bean? Yes. So we'll be pursuing that. Now, some awards. First of all, I shared this in the Friday update, but we have been recognized at the state level for our student attendance and review board policies. So this is this plaque that the county provided. We were also recognized at a state event, weren't we, Dr. Dean? And I keep leaning towards her because she's really the architect of this. So we're a model district when it comes to student attendance review board, which is really our efforts to get kids to school, because that's just the best way to assure that kids are learning. And it's challenging for many families. So that is very exciting. Some other awards we have here, I got a little stack. From the County Office of Education, awarded for continued leadership in building a culture of respect for diversity in our school community through recognizing the value of respecting students' names and identities, and establishing a model of respect to prepare students to be effective in communicating with others from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. So that's really two programs. One is our Juntos program, which is now continuing in through middle school. And the other is for our project, My Name, My Identity, which Ms. Ahuja has been a leader in that, and Dr. Dean as well in that. So we have this stack of awards, and I kept telling Jesus, bring them to me, remind me to bring them out at the board meeting, and then it got to be a stack. So I'll stop there.
That's so great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yay. Okay, so comments, we're on to item 7, comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there's an official representative here or online, please let us know. You can use the raised hand feature online if you wish to speak. Okay, seeing none. Comments, item 8, comments from the California School Employees Association. If there's a representative here, please let us know. If there's an official representative online, please use the raised hand feature now. Okay, item 9, comments from the public. So this is the time to comment about things that are not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act, Government Code 54954.2a and .3 preclude any action being taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. In plain speaking terms, this means the board can only receive information during this time. We cannot speak about it at all. Time limits allocated to public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes total for public comments. Speakers are asked to give their name and affiliation so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. If you would like to speak during this section remotely on Zoom, please use the raised hand feature now so that we can put you in the time time budget for this. Are there any raising their hands online? There's 3. Okay. We'll give them a minute. I'm going to read this next part, and then when we're done, we're going to cut off like what the full list is. So as a reminder, per our board bylaw 9323, the board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, programs, services, acts, or omissions. During public comment, we encourage speakers to discuss issues with civility, to treat people whose opinions differ from their own with respect, and to focus on ideas, policies, and values. Okay, so do I have all the speaker cards from people in the room? Okay, it's okay. For this item? Okay, so, and how many do we have online, Aaliyah? Okay, so can you tell me who the last person is and mark them? Okay, so if anyone raises their hand after that, she'll be our last person to go. So we have 1, 2, 4, and how many did you say? Sorry? 7. So we have 11. So that means that everyone gets 2
minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to have 2 minutes time to speak. Our first speaker will be Eric Kroc. Mr. Kroc, come on up. And we'll put a timer on there as well.
Oh, thank you.
Just 1 second.
Okay, can you hear me?
Not quite. Jesus, do we have?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, good.
give us 1 second. Do we have a timer available?
It's not displaying up there, but it's displaying on
I've got a timer myself.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
super. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Eric Kroc from Sunnyvale Partnership for Healthy Schools. I have 2 requests to make. One is that the Sunnyvale School District correct the placement of the HEPA air filters within Sunnyvale school classrooms. During a recent open house, I observed that the HEPA air filter in my son's classroom is placed directly against the wall. And ventilation and public health experts say that for maximum effectiveness, these HEPA filters need to be placed in the center of the room, or at least with significant separation between them and the nearest wall, because basically you get less airflow into the filter and therefore less effective filtration and air changes per hour if they're jammed up against the wall. So, you know, as Omicron increases the contagiousness of COVID-19, I think it's important that we make the best use of the resources we have in place to prevent the risk of in-classroom transmissions. And playing our best possible game with the placement of the HEPA air filters is one thing we can do. The other thing is that based on information I've learned this week, it appears that there may have been a forward transmission within a Sunnyvale classroom. We don't know this, but I've observed that at least in one classroom, it appears that there were 2 students diagnosed with overlap in space and time. That doesn't prove anything, doesn't prove, you know, the transmission occurred in the classroom. All this needs to be investigated, but because it's important that we know how well our prevention measures are working, I would urge that the Sunnyvale School District work with Santa Clara County Public Health to get blood samples from the 2 students in question and use gene mapping, virologic gene mapping, to verify whether it was in fact a transmission between the 2 students or only a coincidence. And I know that at least one of the 2 families has consented to this already. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, next up, so there are several for a living classroom. Is there any particular order you'd like to come up in? Okay, so the first speaker card I have is Janelle Webb.
Alright.
You can move it.
Hello. Good evening, school board and district office. My name is Janelle Wiley, and I come to you tonight as a parent, a Bishop PTO president, Bishop Elementary PTO president, and a gardening beginner / enthusiastic student. I'm not a professional educator, but I can share my experience as a parent volunteer in a Bishop garden space. While our campus was renovated a few years back, thank you very much for that, it's beautiful, and we were given this gorgeous garden space, over the pandemic, it had fallen to weeds. Thanks to a generous school grant from SEF, Sunnyvale Education Foundation, to focus on revamping the space for outdoor learning again, a few parent volunteers and myself began to work with the kids after school to clean things up. And let me tell you, after a couple of days, quiet days, where the kids were just kind of checking it out to see what it was all about, within a week, we had kids clamoring at the garden gate and the fences, just to have a chance to work with us that day. We even needed to set up a randomized raffle to help make sure that everyone in our KLAS program got a chance. And this was just to help us weed and spread manure and wood chips. Can you imagine the excitement and passion the kids would experience with an actual program that engages them in outdoor learning and covers STEM, next-gen science standards, healthy eating, and environmental stewardship? Not only does it feel like a brain break for the kids, but we get to sneak in all this really great hands-on learning at the same time. And it's such a win-win in my book. And a no-brainer way to help close the achievement gap that the past couple of pandemic years have laid at our door. It was a gift to spend this time with the kids and connect with them. Students often shared happy memories of working with a grandparent or other family member in the garden. Oh. If I leave you with one thought tonight, it's that Living Classroom will help us tackle two huge issues we face in our district: equity and closing the achievement gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up regarding Living Classroom is Eileen Bloom.
Hi there. I'm Eileen Bloom. I'm also on the Bishop Elementary PTO. I'm the garden chair. Oh, can you hear me?
If you tilt up the microphone just a little bit, I think.
Thanks, Janelle. Is this better?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Well, I have a really easy job tonight. I just want to invite you all to a garden planting party that we're having tomorrow at Bishop Elementary. It's from 12:30 to 2:30. I'll be leading a group of parent volunteers and our students. You will get to meet our students planting California native plants in that beautiful garden space. So if you have a green thumb, bring your big floppy garden hat and some water. I'll hand you a shovel. If you don't have a green thumb, Janelle's bringing popsicles and snacks, and you can just hang out and just meet our gardeners. Our little gardeners are so enthusiastic. And that's it, really. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up is Peggy Brewster.
Hello, my name is Peggy Brewster. My son is an IS first grader at Fairwood and will be returning to our homeschool Bishop in the fall. I also serve on the school as the school grants administrator on the Sunnyvale Education Foundation Board. We seek to bring Living Classroom to the district. It's a hands-on, garden-based science and environmental literacy program that delivers lessons to students at their schools, as well as maintain the gardens around which the lessons are centered. I will be sending you an email detailing my enthusiasm for Living Classroom based on my firsthand experiences with the program as a teacher. The current state of the school garden in this district is as varied as the school communities. Some schools have organized parent cohorts or a paid gardener. Most campuses rely on a custodian, teacher, or community volunteer who has taken on the garden as a personal project. When the garden is maintained by volunteers, its livelihood and quality cannot be counted on year to year. Living Classroom addresses these problems in several ways. All students will have access to the same high-quality garden space at their own campus. All students, regardless of FRMP percentages, will also receive the same high-interest and engaging NGSS lessons as others across the district. All students will be taught by Living Classroom instructors. It does not add extra work or prep for our teachers. Since garden installation and maintenance is part of the program, there will be continuity over the years. Here, we can close an opportunity gap and provide all students, including our vulnerable populations, with meaningful environmental literacy education on every campus. We parents at SEF are asking the board to fund Living Classroom district-wide. We're so enthusiastic about this program that we have earmarked $25,000 for the startup this coming year. We look forward to partnering with the district to establish and sustain Living Classroom in all Sunnyvale schools. I'm available to share more information about Living Classroom and SEF's commitment to the program anytime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm going to rely on Aaliyah or Jesus, one of you to let us know who's speaking next.
Okay. First up, we have Lauren Ledbetter.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Great. You can hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. I am a mother of a 4th grader at Bishop Elementary and a 7th grader at Columbia. And I am also speaking in support of Living Classroom program. We've had a great time with the after-school garden, and I've been really excited to see how my son has even liked to mulch with the chicken manure. One of the things I wanted to point out that others haven't is that a lot of the students at Bishop live in the apartments along Maud and in other places, and they don't have access to a yard. And I think bringing Living Classroom to the school could really help provide more opportunities to experience nature and learn about science, particularly for kids who live in the apartments. And I was just thinking about this evening, thinking, oh, can you imagine this could trigger someone to decide, one of these kids, they want to be a biologist or a climate scientist or a paleontologist or a naturalist. And just giving kids that opportunity is excellent. So my specific ask is that the Board of Education support a district-wide funding of the Living Classroom program and begin a pilot program at Bishop in the fall. The Sunnyvale Education Foundation already has funding for that. And I wish I had learned about this earlier. I would have come to the board and advocated for it, weeks and months ago, but I only just learned about it, the opportunity, at a PTO meeting last week. So that's why I am calling in to express my support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Veronica B.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Dr. Veronica Brand. I'm a parent of 2 children at San Miguel Elementary School and a parent rep for the Sunnyvale Education Foundation. I am a woman of color, a second-generation immigrant, and I have a PhD in environmental engineering. I am speaking today to encourage the district to fund programs such as Living Classrooms that focus on experiential learning. I believe it is incredibly powerful to have hands-on science programs in schools, and that this is an issue of equity that has the greatest impact on students who come from less privileged backgrounds. Although I now hold a graduate degree in environmental engineering, I spent most of my academic career curious about, but actually avoiding environmental science. You see, I grew up in a neighboring city, and although I loved learning about nature and the environment in school and through textbooks, there weren't a lot of hands-on science programs at my public elementary school, and exploring green spaces was not a part of my everyday experience. When I was able to attend 5th grade science camp at Walden West, I noticed that students from other schools at science camp seemed to come from more privileged backgrounds. And unlike me and most of my peers, many of them seemed at ease with the idea of camping and gardening and hands-on outdoor exploration. And so while I came out of science camp with the message that outdoor education is awesome, that was overshadowed by another message that said, but it's not for me. I should not try to be an environmental scientist. I wouldn't be successful. That's absurd, right? Where did that come from? Certainly no one had said that out loud. Well, 5th grade me had looked around and thought, wow, there are so many people who know this stuff already and who look so comfortable outdoors. I can't possibly keep up. As an adult, I see that there are a lot of things wrong with that narrative, and there are lots of ways to intervene and support such a student. And yet, I also wonder how many students that were like me that didn't pursue their passions because they didn't have early opportunities to try things out. There are a lot of things that could be changed, but I believe programs during the class day are so impactful because they have the chance to reach every student. Experiential learning programs are important for shaping their narrative about who students can or cannot be, and it should not be available only to people who have the privilege to access it. I urge you, the school board, to bring joy and instill confidence in our students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica.
Next up is Katie Rowland.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Katie Rowland, and I am also a San Miguel Juntos parent and a Sunnyvale Education Foundation board member. Earlier this year, I came to you all to ask you to fund Science Camp directly for equity reasons, and I thank you for all that you have done in that regard. And tonight, I want to continue the conversation about leadership, action and inaction, and equity. You are all well aware of the unequal distribution of resources and opportunities within our school district. And the district has historically given a lot of autonomy over programming to the individual school sites. I can appreciate the desire to give school leaders the opportunity to bring programs of interest to their campus. But to me, that should look like ceramics and danza folklorica at one school and ukulele and tai chi at another. It should not look like one school with 2 to 3 after-school programs each day and another school with 1 to 2 programs per week. It should not look like 27 garden beds at one campus and no program at another site. This sort of pronounced and systemic inequality is the inherent result of decentralized leadership and of a failure to recognize that this inaction leads to inequity in districts that look like ours. It's not that every school needs to be the same, but it does mean that the district needs to proactively look at how to give all students experiences like science camp, access to the arts, after-school programming, and living classroom. Living Classroom represents an opportunity for the district to change the narrative. Instead of a district that talks about equity while letting better resourced schools provide more to its students, Sunnyvale can become a district that invests in high quality, hands-on programs for all students, and most especially for those students who wouldn't have such access otherwise, or who especially need this access to counter prejudice and other barriers to traditionally defined success. In the spirit of Silicon Valley innovation, I encourage you to use the Ed Foundation's 25K Startup Fund to launch the program for the 22-23 school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Barbara.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
My name is Barbara Yang. I live within the Ellis Elementary School District, and while my children are not currently enrolled in the school district today, we are keenly interested and supportive of a potential Mandarin immersion program within the Sunnyvale School District. I know that there was tremendous support and momentum for this program just before the pandemic hit, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, my understanding is that the exploration for this program has stalled. Because the Mandarin Immersion program, it was not a reality for my older child in time for kindergarten, we chose to enroll in a private bilingual elementary school instead. If this dual language program were to be established, myself and many other Sunnyvale families who value a Mandarin Immersion program would come back to the Sunnyvale School District. So I just want to express that there is significant interest there, and I really urge the Sunnyvale School District to continue to consider establishing another bilingual program. The benefits are clear, as we can see with the Juntos program within the Sunnyvale School District, as well as evidenced by the CLIP program in Cupertino. That's it from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up is Petra House.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for all being here today and the support that you give to both to teachers, families, and youth in our community. And congratulations on the community school grant. It's really exciting. I'm here to speak also about Living Classroom. As a mother of Dylan Houts, incoming first grader he'll be in second grade at Bishop next year, and a 4-year-old Zell. I'm also the daughter of a retired teacher, administrator, and current board member down in Santa Cruz. And in my day job, I work as a director of community engaged learning focused on education at Stanford. I'm inspired by my colleagues here and peers, parents who are speaking to this issue, as well as all of the educators working to inspire the next generation of stewards of our land. I believe that deeply and strong partnerships and meeting the needs of our communities, in this case, our teachers, families, and youth. And one of the things that I've been most struck by is the continuous burden on teachers to pick up all of the different pieces. And I think the only way that we can help both our teachers and our students to really thrive in our long-term success is by building on the strong partnerships that are available to us. Living Classroom brings in the infrastructure to build support and to build that connection between their passions as well as the learning that's happening in the classroom. And through that, we will see students going off to universities like Stanford to build a better and more sustainable world that will help them thrive, especially as we look at current cases where our environment is at a critical deficit. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing about your support in the future.
Thank you.
Next up is Helen.
Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Helen Fong. I am a parent in Sunnyvale School District, but my kid also does not go to Sunnyvale because we determined another program is better that meets my kids' need. In 2018, California launched a Global California 2030 initiative, where to try to triple the number of bilingual high school graduates over the next 12 years. The goal stated that by 2030, half of the K-12 students should participation in programs leading to proficiency in 2 or more language. By 2040, 3 out of the 4 graduating seniors should earn the seal of biliteracy. In today's program, I see that 47 of our fifth grader earned that seals. With over 6,000 students in Sunnyvale, accounting for Hunter's program over sixth grade, that's less than 5% of our Sunnyvale students. During the pandemic, Santa Clara School District started a Spanish dual immersion program. Unified City New Haven School District started a Mandarin dual immersion program. San Jose Elementary started a Vietnamese dual immersion program all during the pandemic. In the fall of 2023, Milpitas is going to add a third language to their immersion program, and they're highly considering Vietnamese and Mandarin, or Mandarin. Equity access to learning another language is important, and many students in Sunnyvale would not have access to learning another language. I would like to share my support for starting a Mandarin immersion program as part of the program of choice, and I also would like to understand the board's plan to meet the California 2030 goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Last is Melinda Hamilton.
Thank you. Welcome.
Melinda, if you want to go ahead and.
Hi, sorry, I was wandering around my kitchen. Thank you so much. So many people have so eloquently covered what I would like to say, but I'm Melinda Hamilton. I'm the president of the Sunnyvale Education Foundation, and I just also want to echo the comments of some of my former board members about bringing living classrooms. This is something that we firmly believe in. We've put our money where our mouth is, quite literally. And I was actually very heartened by a discussion that we had with Dr. Gallagher last week. And I know that he's going to be meeting with the living classroom folks next week. I appreciate that there's so much emphasis on what is happening with the learning loss that happened during the pandemic. But I also firmly believe that engaging kids in all different ways in their education is very important and can help with some of that learning loss. And outdoor classrooms are also a huge emphasis going forward for pandemic reasons and other reasons. Kids like being outside, and it's a great way to make things, to engage the kids and have them see their lessons in a different way. I am happy that we have had these discussions, and I really, really hope that we can continue them. I hope that everyone on the board understands that the Ed Foundation is firmly behind this. This is something that we have been working toward pretty much since our founding 7 years ago. And we are committed to helping you make this happen. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just hope that we can find the political will. I know it's a little scary to start a pilot program and see where it might go, but I also think it's a huge act of hope to just try it out for a year and kick the tires and see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment on this item. Thank you very much. Again, we cannot comment about any of the things that you've talked to us about on that on items not on the agenda, but we appreciate you coming and speaking to us. We're on to item 10, presentations. Item 10A is Lakewood Tech EQ school presentation with Carly Strong and Brian Brown and team. Yay, thank you.
All right, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. I am Carly Sturm. I am the principal of Lakewood Tech EQ this year, my first year, and it's been an amazing year. I want to thank you for letting me be here tonight to share with you on the state of Lakewood. Presenting in May affords us the opportunity to reflect on the progress we've made from the beginning of the year and to celebrate the work and the success of this year. I also want to acknowledge that our district and board knew that we would need more supports this year. We have been fortunate to support our families and our learners with a social worker this year, an SEO TOSA, more behavioral staff, food support, counseling for our students, and para-educators. So I thank you for that commitment in supporting our students. We know qualitatively from the students and families and staff that we do sense that positive impact that these additional providers have added to the site this year. On the whole, we see improved self-images of students and students who are more able to access their learning. So thank you. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so let's take a look at our year. So this year,
excuse me 1 second.
is it pausing? Yes.
We added a new device, so it's not letting it go into the TVs, but she's able to see it here and the people online can see it.
Oh, great.
We can't see it.
We can look along other, if you just tell us what slide you're on, we can go to it on our
That's true, 'cause we have the.
Let me see.
So.
Okay, so we are on.
It's just,
let me back up.
unlike other meetings, unlike before, now the people who are in the room can't see the presentation, right? Like, they come up with something, but there's an
That kind
imaginary
of puts us at a little
presentation.
bit of a.
We'll figure it out.
This clicker's giving me a little trouble. Okay, so we are on slide 3. It says educators focus for the year. And it kind of keeps going. Sorry for the, everyone online, I'm sorry that it keeps kind of going in and out. Okay, we'll hope it holds tight. So this year at Lakewood, we focused on several things. First, we focused on understanding more deeply our district MTSS process and refining that at the site. With that, we focused on one of our staff development days, 2 TLDs, 2 staff meetings. We worked on improving our documentation system and focusing on utilizing the district forms and making sure that we're calendaring out progress monitoring to really get to know our learners and help them. Our social worker has partnered with teachers to implement second step curriculum for the social emotional development. And we have our BIS and RSP teachers supporting teachers with visual charts and check-in and check-out forms. And our instructional coach has engaged in many coaching cycles on circles, really going deeply with the Circle Forwards book. And we've seen great work across the board in all the classrooms. There we go. Another focus for our site this year was, after so much focus on distance learning and how to engage in that work, we really wanted to get back to those instructional best practices. We worked on math, literacy, ELD on all of our development days and our TLDs. Also with this work, we've worked on strengthening our tier 1 and tier 2 supports and interventions. Like I said, second step curriculum implementation and coaching, restorative justice practices in classrooms with other staff members, community circles across all grade levels in classrooms, and really focusing on our small group instruction. We've also really focused on re-engaging families to campus life. Yesterday was a great testament to seeing that with open house. But with all of our work this year, having a full-time social worker has really supported many of our most vulnerable families. She also serves by giving counseling services, direct family support, support groups, liaison services for students like the Elevate program and the Uplift program. We've had parent education on site. We've been continuing to do our committee work with ELAC, principal coffees, our PTA outreach, and then our outreach liaison supports us through all of these. And we have been excited the second half of the year to have actual field trips where we get in a bus and go somewhere and do the Loney Village and other activities. And then last night, like I said, we had open house, our book fair, and we're gonna end the year with our fun day, one of our beloved traditions at Lakewood. And then the next 2 weeks, we also have our basketball tournament between Fairwood and Lakewood, so we're pretty excited. Our next slide talks about our number of students we've been serving in various capacities. So you can take a look at the numbers, but you can see that we have many different ways of supporting students, from tutorials in math, ELA, ELD, and SEL. We've had our Kalias program, which serves a quarter of our students. This year, we were fortunate to partner with the city of Sunnyvale for a Littles program. So we've been serving our younger learners from TK to first, and it's been very well received. Our outreach liaison supports our newcomers. We started off with 23 students receiving support, and many of them graduated, and now we're still focused on 11. Our paras support 136 students. This trimester 3, we've added a double dose for 32 of our students. Like many other schools, our SEO TOSA has been hard at work serving our students. We are busy working on progress monitoring many students in the MTSS process and trying to determine best steps for them. Attendance has been a big push here at Lakewood to make sure that we have students coming to school. And I think we've made good progress there as well. As I mentioned before, our social worker serves a number of our families. We have a number of chat counselors, our school psychologist, our social worker all provide counseling. That has been a really heavy focus because we just see that so many kids need someone to talk to and have that consistent support. I think of all the numbers on the page, the one that gives me the most pause is our number of families receiving groceries. We have 60 to 70 families receiving food support through our biweekly groceries. And that just tells me that many of their basic needs are still a challenge to meet, and that affects learning. But we are grateful for that support. All right, so let's look at our students in numbers first. So we can see here, as I mentioned, attendance has been a piece that we've really been watching at Lakewood and trying to see how we can support. We, like all schools, had our bumps with COVID and how that impacted attendance. We have seen improved attendance through our attendance meetings, helping provide families with strategies and supports and how to get their students to school. So 80% of our students are regularly attending, and we're still working to meet the needs of those students who are at risk and in that critical section. Okay. So moving on, we're going to take a look at our reading benchmark data. So starting with our kinder students, we know that in order to get kids ready to read and to engage in the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment, they first need those foundational literacy skills. They need to know their letters, their sounds. They need to be able to put some of those words together. And so our teachers have been working really hard as many of our students came in still learning their letters and sounds. So we can see at the beginning of the year that our students needed quite a bit of support. We did see some growth in trimester 2 to 26%. But in response to that, we did have a tutorial to really target our target groups, predominantly Latinx multilingual students who are identified as English learners. We are onto our second tutorial with this group to support them. Although we are still waiting Tri-3 data, I know our teachers were strongly encouraged by the students they have assessed and seeing more growth. So it's like the light bulb's coming on and it's starting to click. Our first grade is also, we had many students entering first grade who were still learning their letters and sounds. Many of our students were still at a level A, which is a beginning reader. And in response to that data, our teachers were across the board engaging in sound work with Heggerty phonemic awareness. Our SEO TOSA and the students identify needing that program. We're working with a program called SIPS that really worked on those foundational skills. And many of our students have graduated from that program and now are doing the LLI guided reading with the students. We also bought or purchased some materials for teachers to support their work, like secret stories, which are fun, engaging stories that students can do. All families receive benchmark decodables to take home, so parents have the right materials for their students to read. And like I said, we're in Tri-3 doing a double dose of LLI with our students who need the most support and who are not in the SEO TOSA group. And we've been having a lot of coaching cycles around ELD. And so the piece that I'd like us to focus on now is our second grade students. We can see that the scores are different or show more growth than some of the other grade levels. And when I first started as principal back in July, I had the honor of having a sit-down meeting with the cabinet and talking about Lakewood. And when I was putting the presentation together, I thought at first, did I make a mistake? These numbers are different than the other numbers. And when I started working with the team and looking into the data, we noticed that, in fact, this wasn't a mistake. The data was correct. And we started looking at what had we done that helped these gains. And last year, there was a really strategic effort by the team of paraeducators and teachers to do a double dose for every student during distance learning. So 5 days a week, students got a double dose of reading. And we saw the growth that the students made. And so here you can see, one more slide. You can see here, this was the slide I originally showed the cabinet, that in first grade at the end of the year, 68% of our students were proficient. When we reassessed them at the beginning of the year, obviously we had a few students move on from Lakewood and we had a few students enter in. And we looked at the data student by student. The colored graph shows some various reasons we think maybe some of the students were below grade level. We had several new students, those were the green students. We had a number of students who had attendance issues, like in the yellow. Some had some environmental factors, and then we had some students who were receiving heavy RTI and were in the MTSS process. So we see that this works, and this is giving us that reflection to inform our instruction for next year and to continue to refine what we're doing this year. Okay. So looking at our older students, we can see our 3rd through 5th graders. There are a number of students who are at proficient levels, but we are still working to support all of our learners and meet them where they are, especially our students identified as English language learners. Again, our instructional coach, Karen Garcia, is working really hard to do ELD coaching cycles with our teachers in grades 3 through 5. Moving on to math, we can see here with our 1st through 5th graders, the numbers start off really strong, and then we do see that the older students are, their level of proficiency is not where it was in like those in the 1st grade. Some of that, and if you look at the 2nd grade data, we can see like the students who are identified as English learners, we see a stronger percentage of those students with proficiency. And if you look at the NWEA assessment, it is very language heavy, and it's harder for some of our ELs to kind of, and many of our students who are still working towards that proficiency to get through the test. And so next year, we are looking at trying to decide like how do we make some of those intervention blocks so all students can get those supports. Okay, what does this look like though for an individual family or for a student? So for the first example, we have a family. This is a family that's been at Lakewood since 2012 as they have an older child in high school. They currently have students in grades kinder, 1st and 2nd. They identify as Latinx. The family is a single parent household. They have had unstable housing, transportation, and income. And the students all have a history of attendance inconsistencies. This family receives most of our supports that we have on campus. And so what I'd like to highlight with this family is just when a family is struggling and they are showing that, you know, the attendance is challenging because they don't have a car to get there, food's inconsistent, that we have been putting all of our resources towards it. It starts with our teachers. Our teachers are amazing. They have an amazing relationship with the mom. The social worker is well connected with the family. Both Mr. Brown and I work very closely with the family as well. All of the teachers have individual goal setting and recognition for reaching the goals where they consulted with the students on what they'd like. One student receives consistent check-in and check-out every day, also on a behavior plan, and has an IEP with RSP services. All 3 students attend KLES, and it's one of the highlights of their day is just having that time to kind of have some playtime, but also some support with what they're doing in the classroom. And they get a dinner before they go, and they enjoy that time. With the family having to move so much, they've been receiving bus transportation on and off as needed. And 2 of the students are receiving Tier 2 reading support, one with the SEO TOSA and one with the para. Our social workers connected them with different resources. And we do try to really work with the students when behaviors are happening to have more of like those restorative practices and positive behavior support, because we know that it's challenging right now for them. And Sunnyvale's community service, we couldn't have done all of this without it. They receive groceries, they've gotten gift cards and our snacks. I can tell you one of them adores the beef jerky. And it's my way to help her get into the classroom is 2 packages of beef jerky, and she kind of figures her way in. So moving on to our second, more of like a student, an individual student, we really looked at like a number of our students and who we wanted to highlight. And we finally kind of settled on a student that, you know, wasn't the student that needed these intense academic supports, but was that student where it just wasn't catching. And so she's a 1st grade student. She's bubbly and loves school, has a ton of friends, is always there to say hello. She loves drawing and art, writing letters to her parents. And when she was in kinder, distance learning was tough for her. She wasn't always engaged, and her teachers were worried. Her parents were worried. She was at, still learning her letters and sounds. And so we started her in the MTSS process. At the beginning of this year, she was still having a number of reversals for her letters and numbers. She was at a beginning level A. So she was a beginning kinder level. So we had her join the SEO TOSA group. She was doing SIPS intervention 5 times a week for 30 minutes. We continued that 2nd trimester. And then by 3rd trimester, by the end of 2nd trimester, we can see she jumped to a level H. So she is almost at grade level. She is 1 month within grade level right now. And so we can see that when you, and so now for tri-3, we've moved her to the LLI intervention with a para-educator. So we can see when we have that extra support, when she can get what she needs, we can see that students who, you know, potentially don't have that learning disability, that they can make the growth. And this student has made almost 2 years of growth in 1 year because of all of that support. And so we're really proud to see all of her hard work. And I know her parents have been tremendous partners. They've been working with her at home as well. So you can see here's her beginning of the year writing sample and then her end of tri-2 writing sample. And I saw some of her writing the other day, and it's even blossomed from this. So we can see once that reading really kicks in, everything starts falling into place. The writing, the reading comprehension and math, all of those pieces. So I come to a close and bring you a few of the Lakewood moments. I know I've seen some of you on site, but I thought we'd see a few of our times together here at Lakewood. Here we are with the jump rope contest. You can see here several pictures. We have our, on the far left, our entrepreneur fair in kindergarten, where they make their own items and they sell them and they write you receipts and they tell you that you may not return it. And they are business people and very professional. We have some learners in ELD in the middle. We did a student council sponsored event for Halloween. And at the beginning of the year, we had done some Smart Start activities, which was a way to just engage our learners and make them want to be at school and have fun and explore different learning. You can see here, here is Mr. Brown and I playing basketball to our best ability against students at recess one day. You can see we were able to go on the Loney field trip, and we have a student dressed in that realia and our garden at Lakewood. Which I have to give a big shout out to Mr. Davis and Ms. Curry or Ms. Garcia, who are the movers and shakers of that happening. We're really lucky to have them work so hard to do that. And then here we have some pictures from our SEO TOSA work. Our SEO TOSA did do quite a bit of math, and so we see those learners engaging there. and a third grade class outside, doing some outside learning for ELD, but pairing that with the garden. And then here we have our Playworks junior coaches giving a presentation and making commercials to recruit the next Playworks junior coaches. And then just some more learning in the classroom. And we move on to open house. So these are new and improved photos. It was, again, an amazing event. It was awesome seeing parents playing tetherball and looking at all their kids' work and just really enjoying the beautiful night and celebrations of learning. And we have our some of our teachers, our employees of the year, and some more learning happening here. So I want to close with the picture in the middle has a student and she's explaining to her family the anchor charts in her classroom. And it was one of those moments as an educator where I was like, oh my gosh, she gets it. She was telling her family, this helps me learn. And I'm able to look at this all the time because it's always up and I can go back to it and go back to it. And I don't feel dumb because I don't have to ask a bunch of people. So just seeing the power and like all the anchor charts and all the learning that happened all throughout the year was just an amazing way to cap kind of this week with just that aha of like, this is why I'm in education. And I miss those events so much that just give you that time to look and say, we've really been working hard and it shows. So I want to thank everyone tonight for supporting Lakewood and for letting us be here. Thank you.
So before you go,
yes,
just so you know, we were gonna open it up for public comment.
Sure.
And give the board a couple of minutes to just, thank you.
So should just scoot out, Bridget, is what you're telling me?
Don't leave.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I don't see any cards for public comment in person. Is there anyone here who'd like to comment on the Lakewood presentation? If there's anyone online who would like to make a comment on the Lakewood presentation, please use the raise hand feature now. Okay, seeing none, board, any comments or questions about Lakewood? You don't see Nancy?
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate how you balance the presentation by giving us a snapshot of a student in the context of their family, a student who is struggling, but we might not see the growth that has happened. So that was very helpful for me. And I'm excited that you had a wonderful back to school night and things are on track for a strong finish to your school year.
Thank you, Nancy.
It's about, do you have anything you want to add? I know you already talked about how much you enjoyed an open house.
No, I didn't go to that one, sorry.
Yeah, she went to Vargas.
Well, I went to Vargas, sorry. Yeah.
So much joy.
Yes, and that one, they happened the same day.
Yeah, I always love going to Lakewood, and I just, really feel the strong community vibe there every time I go, and, I really appreciate, you and Mr. Brown always like opening your doors for us when we want to go see how things are going. And it was a really great presentation. I really felt like we got to walk through your campus and culture right now. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, no, you again, you go again.
Nope.
For sure, no? Okay, well. Well, I wanna thank you for the presentation. It was a very nice view. We've been visiting through the year and during the pandemic and see all the effort that you guys have put on supporting the community and also how you partner with your community and moving forward, and the strong nutrition program you have there and the garden program you have there. They use a lot of the living garden as a tool, and we also saw it working when you host the summer program that is coming back this year. I don't know if we can tie this conversation with or we wait until the
programs of choice, but we can try like, I know we talk about this during pandemic about how do you feel that it has helped you or improved. I suppose during the beginning of the pandemic, it helped you that you already had that heads on the tech, but now everybody is already on the tech train, I suppose. So I don't know how do you feel and how relevant has it been the extra step you had before on tech, and if it can help you moving forward, how you see it. I saw a lot of input in the next item that we're going to be talking later about programs of choice, but it pretty much is, well, it's going to end up in how do you feel it has helped you? How successful do you personally feel it has been on helping the success of your students? What can we do to help you more? I see that you need help, but I mean, other than pandemic, and if we can move forward from it, how can we support you? And other than, I saw also on the next presentation, you already have some ideas moving forward with the program's choice, but I don't know, the plans and how can we get behind it?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. You know, I think Lakewood did so much really valuable work, and we're really the front runners, right, with tech, obviously. And I think that teachers were really well positioned to move into distance learning. And I do see, even though like our district has made a really concerted effort, right? Everyone has a device. People are much more tech comfortable. But I do see that there are still pieces with Lakewood where, kindergartners are putting QR codes and making video projects that you can scan at open house. And, kids are doing really robust video projects for science camp and things of that nature. I think although tech is at our core really important, I think this year we did really prioritize getting back in the classroom with those instructional practices. To really just focus on that. And I think, we do have a really robust, like an intentional badging system where students learn certain tech skills. And really with that, that's the EQ piece, right? Where you need to be someone who mindfully uses technology and is a producer of technology, right? And can engage with community in an appropriate way. So that is like a very intentional build. With that being said, I do think everyone's becoming kind of tech EQ. We have a huge SEL focus in our district, and I think it's amazing to see. I do think our site is well positioned for becoming a community school and really focusing on that aspect. I think it would serve our families well, which would in turn serve our students well. And I think it would support our staff, having those supports on site for our kids. So I do think that is a piece we're really excited about to start exploring and developing. How do you develop a wellness center, Zen Den, whatever we want to name it, for our students to have that as an alternative so that they can, most actively engage in their education. So for me, I think where we're moving is towards that community school model. I think that tech piece we are still going to hold on to till things are really planned out and built, and then we'll kind of continue as a shared leadership, discuss where do we want to go exactly with the tech piece. Is it going to be kind of a secondary focus? But in terms of like supporting us, are you talking in the program of choice with technology, EQ? I think, that's where I think supporting our SIPSAs and how we kind of plan out where we're focusing. We've purchased some new items for student use, like podcasters and things like that, so that they can make some of those robust video projects where they are producers. I think one area that I'd like us to explore again next year is, I know we've done some bigger events where we've gone to like Google and things like that, where they really see themselves as people in technology in this community. I think that's where I'd like to make some of those connections again. So if you have any connections at Google, I would be happy to utilize those. So, but something of that nature.
Yeah, and I like the idea of having a primary and a secondary, project, because it can just be done naturally. You don't have to exclude one thing. It doesn't interfere in focus.
Right.
Once you learn to do one thing, you just put it inside your normal day and your normal class. So I do believe that both of those focus are great, and I just we wish to know like how we can forward that behind other than finding people to run those programs that we need to work on it, and I heard that Mike was already taking the lead on that. Engaging the community I think is key, and you guys have done some work, but you need more.
And I think involving the families in the education with their students, we've started planning some different family education nights to bring in some of the technology piece and the social emotional piece. But then hopefully as we continue to plan the community school, it'll kind of all come together from many sides, right? To get
When is the library starting?
Say that one more time.
When is the library going to be open?
I believe that I don't have a firm date.
Yeah, so that's got pushed out a little ways. I'm actually gonna meet with the city next week again to go over timelines.
Okay, because you do have some sharing rooms that you're gonna be able to use during the day over there.
And we're very excited about that shared space. We are pretty good at problem solving space, huh, Tasha, at Lakewood. So until we have the library space, we will always find space to serve our families. So.
I know that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much, and thanks for sticking around for some questions and comments.
Yes,
Appreciate
awesome.
that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to item 11A, which is to review and discuss programs of choice. The coordinator organizer of this update is Christina Valentine, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. This is an update and board discussion, and there's no presentation. So as such, we will take the public comments first. So if there's any member of the public who would like to speak regarding our programs of choice update, I do have one speaker card here. But if there's any other speakers in the room, or if there's anyone online who would like to speak on programs of choice, please raise your hand now online. No, okay. Okay, so basically, it's the same rules as last time. You'll have 3 minutes for public comment. And the first person up would be, so we're gonna have the public comment first.
Yes.
So Elizabeth Viega? Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, you got it now.
Yeah, okay, so just, we'll be right with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, thank you.
Hello, good evening, school district, school office, and members of the public. My name is Elizabeth Vega, and I represent a group of parents who would very much like to introduce a Mandarin immersion program into the Sunnyvale School District. Now, I appreciate time is quite limited, so I'm not going to speak at length about the many reasons we believe would be such an excellent program. But what I will say is we do strongly believe this program would greatly enrich the Sunnyvale program of choice offerings. And on a personal level, as an educator who has worked in bilingual schools, I have witnessed firsthand the many benefits that a bilingual education can reap. And on a community level, there is definitely a growing trend towards bilingual programs. Indeed, the continued success of the Juntos program speaks volumes. As Helen and Barbara have mentioned, Milpitas in 2023, Redwood City, they've even started, they even have a TK Mandarin immersion program, and it's going into middle school. Berryessa, Palo Alto, Cupertino. And then lastly, because there isn't much time, I think there have been lots and lots of conversations, and we do believe there is strong community support for this program. And I think we have actually shared some data already to support this. So we would really appreciate a decision going forward with regards to where you feel that this program, if we should go forward or not. Thank you very much for your time.
thanks so much. And no one online, correct? Right now, because they went earlier. Okay, great. So, Ms. Valentine, sorry. Do you want to say anything as an introduction? Because I think this is board time to talk, or?
Yeah, I'll just do a brief introduction in order to, and I want to make sure that the board has lots of time to talk. But good evening, board and public. For review and discussion of our programs of choice. About 10 years ago, our first program of choice started at Fairwood with the Fairwood Explorer program. And Sunnyvale's original goal was to provide choice for our families while still maintaining a high quality education, and also provide a vision and a line focus for the school site. Across our district, we have programs of choice at 6 schools, and these can be a strand within the school as well as the entire school. And if you count those all up, then it's really 8 options that we have. And through this programs of choice reflection, our principals all reflected on what do they want from their programs of choice? What are their next steps? And their questions are listed in the board packet. But I think it's interesting, if you didn't pick up on it, is that all of our principals have inherited their programs of choice. They all started before they were currently principals by other principals. For example, San Miguel's Juntos program. And I thought the principals engaged in a really reflective process in thinking about the next steps. And I know you asked Carly some questions earlier about where is she taking the school. And in some cases, our programs of choice started because they were early implementers, and now they're wondering, how can we take this into the future, maintaining a focus, while also spreading best practices across the district. So with that, I'll let you discuss.
Thanks. Well, I want to thank you for all the work that went into this. You can tell, I mean, just in general, I'm sure the whole board agrees that it's clear there was a ton of intentionality about the approach to this, and you know, the kinds of questions that were asked, and the, you know, just how it was all put together. So it's like a very readable document. So even though it had multiple authors, I would say that there was a lot of consistency in there with, like, so you can tell that there was a conversation thread that had been happening. So as a reader of it, I appreciate it. And I think anyone who picked it up and read it as a public document would understand, would have a clear understanding of where we are, like, both as a district and where the programs feel like they are right now. So I just want to thank you for that, because I think that takes a lot of work. So, but I also appreciate that you provided us with some guiding questions, and I just wanted to know if the board had any that they wanted to start with, if you want to just start with general observations, or if you had a question you wanted to talk about first.
Do we go one by one, or we just go as a general?
Sure, yeah, as a general.
Nancy?
So are we just reading out the questions aloud and then doing that?
I was just wondering if there's any of those questions that you wanted to focus on first, because I think they provided us with some discussion questions, like, as a board, you know, where do we see the strengths of our programs, or, you know, where do we see current challenges? How do we see the programs of choice impacting our equity work? How effectively are the programs of choice meeting community needs? So I just was, you know, there were several questions that were thrown out, and I just wondered if any of them resonated with you.
So I appreciate the question. While we can evaluate the program, I think part of it is acknowledging the tension that happens, and it was described to us of between site-based management and district goals, and making sure that there's robust programs that last beyond, that are embedded and last beyond just an individual or group of leaders who change either by families moving beyond their site or administrative change. And that's one of the aspects that I would like to have injected into this, but we don't necessarily need to start at that particular point because that is a key question that we as a board need to address as far as what we might see as goals and interests that might be something beyond what a site would see of what the district as a whole might need and benefit from.
Okay, well, I don't know, if we can start with these comments, is between us or to talk with
No,
us?
we're talking as a
Christina
board.
or-
We can
okay.
ask Christina, we can talk to the district.
We're here
This
as
is just a-
resources,
yeah,
but we really want to hear your perspectives and
Well,
wonderings.
I think if the question about equity, yes, they can and they should be implemented as with an equity lens, and I think that we've been moving forward. We saw the change between, the implementation and the trial from February, and then trying to integrate it as equity with equality for everybody. Had a challenge with this working, and the pandemic hit. I think a lot of them, except for the language one, have been putting kind of on the back during the pandemic. Somehow not as effective, but somehow they managed to find their own way. There are some that are stronger than others. We can talk also about that, and how are we failing, or not failing, but how are we behind in the original ideas of some of them. I think there are a lot of good practice we can learn from each of them. Like, for example, there is a lot of exploratory ideas and hands-on education that somehow have been bleeding to other schools, and maybe not everything from Explorer, but a lot of ideas about hands-on education has been bleeding and being adopted in other sites, depending on how well they can manage to do that with everything that is going on.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So I feel like with the Explorer write-up, I feel like, when I was reading that, I feel like they must have gone back to the original write-ups to write that, because this idea of like hands-on learning, that sounds very like 2010 to me, right? Like, I mean, this whole thing, like when I was teaching there was a big discussion at the time about like, what is the parents wanted project-based learning, the community wants project-based learning. And there was this big debate about what is project-based learning. And there was a huge deep dive on it. I think Cumberland and some other schools, started looking at that, but everyone on the staff had BIE, the Buck Institute training. And, I feel like, I feel like the big magical part of that program was that it was so focused on inquiry-based learning, student-directed thinking. And, in the write-up, it talks about like exploration time, maybe getting in the way of, I got sort of offended by it because of my time there, but not in a bad way, like just in like a superficial, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm having this reaction. But you know what I mean? Like, this is a surprise. Why am I feeling this strongly about it? But I think it was because, I feel like that, like cooking, you could say, oh, cooking is, oh, that's just exploration time. Like kids are just doing hands-on things and having fun. But like, cooking is math and science, and gardening is science, and all these things that like takes all these concepts and makes them really concrete and real for the students. And then all the project-based, like I don't feel like there was enough in there. I mean, maybe my understanding is they're still doing a lot of project-based learning and inquiry-based learning, and I didn't see that in the write-up. I just saw hands-on learning, and I was just like wondering, like, again, maybe that's how it originally was written up, and so they were like talking about it in that context. But I feel like with programs like that and programs like Juntos, and some of the knowledge, like when, like I had no idea kindergartners were making QR codes, like that's pretty amazing and cool. Like those are best practices, and when to use the charter school word, just to like put it out there, those schools initially were supposed to be experimental, small programs that were supposed to be experiment, like, catalysts to like, improve the rest of the place, right? Like they're supposed to improve everyone else's practice and like expand that knowledge. So like, I would like whatever happens at any of these programs to be like, yes, I want them to succeed and be good for that community, but I want them to benefit everybody else. And I want them to be like best practice incubators. Like, so whether it's another language program or whether it's, whatever they decide to do next, like get that knowledge like out to everyone else and have that be normalized for people to do, and have it not be super scary. Because in volunteering in classrooms where, I'm partnering with teachers to like do project-based learning with them, to go through things that other people have created and like work on it. Like, it's less scary if they have someone who's done it before, or they can like go see another teacher do it or something. So I would just love for us to think of our programs of choice in like through an equity lens as being like innovation systems, and self-contained community successes, but also feeding out to make everything better for everybody. I don't know. Okay, so that's just me talking for a while. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it has, like, for example, I've seen in a lot of the other schools, maybe not in every school, gardens working. And Lakewood, there's a lot of garden work there. And Vargas had some, went away, is trying to go back. But we did have gardens at Fairwood long time ago and introducing as a part of learning science. And then we have maintaining that. They have been maintaining that, not me anymore. But that's an example of something that can be repeated everywhere. And we talk about that last year too, when we were talking about repeating something that works in one side through the other side and working, the schools working together and things that have worked successfully. We cannot maybe reproduce the part about the volunteering, because that's the system of people that choose to go to that particular school. Maybe not all of school. Maybe we could open a little bit more if there is people agreeable to that in other schools, and train the teachers how to handle having parents inside the classrooms. Maybe not all the teachers are okay with that district-wide, but at least we can learn, about the historic, the museum, the Life Museum, and all those great experience that the teachers at Fairwood learn and apply in their classrooms, and give the ideas and training to other places to add those things as much as they can. As you say, it's the accelerator, the innovation that put the little experimental side.
I see Nancy, your hands up.
Yeah, so in the conversation, I think it's important to talk about beginning, middle, and end, because we want to have some kind of accountability. So with whatever project initiation, it would be nice if there was a clear policy direction that made it clear to staff and to families and to the community about beginning, middle, and end benchmarks, where there'd be a more cumulative type of assessment. And to your point, Bridget, if it's something that's really working well, then how can we push it out to other communities of interest within the district, and what would the best, what would those
Yeah, and in our bylaw, like I just was reading the bylaw about the programs of choice, and it was saying, or the board policy, whatever it was, board policy, I was saying like, it's gonna be reviewed at the end of every year, so we get a presentation in August about how it's doing, how it's meeting its goals, like what's happening. So maybe like as people are re-envisioning, with their communities, what it's gonna be, like, okay, let's do that. And like, it doesn't have to be like, but like, what are the overall program goals? And it's not really checking a box, but like, hey, how are we really doing? And like, what are our successes? What are our challenges, you know? And, you know, I don't know. I think that would be like a really, you know, it would be a really good check-in for the programs. And I'm not saying to do it like right now, right? But I'm just saying like, as they're building up what they want for the future with the community. I also wanted to say that when we touched on equity, one thing that people have brought up to me about equity is the transportation issue. And that it really, even though we say it's open to everyone, the access to them because of transportation is really limited. And that it's got people very concerned about it truly being equitable. So I just don't, you know, the more I have heard from Rob Smiley and Grant over the years about bus drivers and like bus drivers being rare and, you know, like just expensive and, you know, competing with Google and all these companies with their massive, gorgeous buses that are air conditioned with like probably food on it or something. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a totally different environment than a school bus. So just competing for people is really hard. But I wonder if bus drivers were not in the equation and, you know, we've talked more and more about parents having like more rigorous background checks and things like for field trips or volunteering or being one-on-one in small groups of children. I wonder if there aren't like more formal things the district could do to support people who would want to commute in from other areas of town, you know? And I don't.
Yeah, that might be a challenge why some people don't put their kids in some of the Yeah, then one of the things, well, also about success, I don't know if, I don't wanna, I don't know, make people mad or sad about some programs being more successful than others, but I think there are more, I don't know, I don't wanna say happy way, but there are programs that are doing well better, there be more people is.
What would be helpful is if together we define what success is.
Yes.
Because I think we don't actually, I don't know that we have a clear definition for success.
I'm just kind of wondering if that speaks to a little bit what I was bringing up is, I mean, some of our more successful programs have pathways that go on beyond school. Right? And I wonder if.
Like Quintos?
I really enjoy the questions on here, this executive summary, you know, and I think that's a good way of a good start. But I see a lot of things with the next steps, is they're always thinking about how do I enrich the program within my school? But I think there's room for, what do the students do if they truly, for example, I'm going to pick on Vargas here because they're on the screen, but and there's the science topic, right? I think that's another easy hit, or what do you do next? And then in high school, is there some potential of earning maybe like even for the more accelerated students earning high school credits in middle school or something like that? You know, so what's going to draw the parents? It's on, right?
I can hear you.
The interpreters can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I'm not used to getting this close and comfortable with the microphone.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Train of thought now.
Oh, no, yeah, like having high school students be able to come back to the school and volunteer there
That
or
would be
go.
good. Careers, you know, that's another one where you talk about career in college.
Yeah.
There are some opportunities to start talking about CTE programs and K through 8 opportunities as well as college opportunities. You know, it's just depending on your interests. So I think if we talk about success or how to draw more people into that school of choice, we start speaking to the interest, like the kid that is more into science or STEAM.
Or what about the arts?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say that that's one area that the board has long identified as a pathway that engages many children.
And families.
Yeah.
And can have multiple pathways out and looking at assets that we have in the district, because we are unique in having an actual elementary school site that has a theater.
Yeah.
So how are we effectively, so my question is, how are we effectively using the talents and assets that we have to maximize choice and incubate programs?
And then go ahead as well.
Yeah, that we've been talking, I think everybody has talked in one point or another about that point, that we do have a school that has a great theater, and we have many programs that have been promoted and work with, but I mean, it has been famously all around the country. There are a lot of performing arts programs that have really helped kids move forward, encouraging families to get involved, making happy kids involved with more school and being happy with the school and changing numbers. It's like it is a very strong program. It has been done 1,000 times all around the country. Maybe it's not an experiment that we're going to be doing, but and we do have local examples of other schools. I don't know if in Santa Clara County, would know in other counties, in San Mateo and Monterey County.
Art schools?
Yeah.
Whether it's we talked about we went to AEC, there was a music program, or it was an after school program, but it was everyone was enrolled in it automatically, and then you had to opt out. I think they only had 2 kids opt out, and then one of them opted back in again out of like hundreds of kids, and they saw, they had good data on it. The board funded it for 5 years, and anyway, it was a good program. They won a bunch of awards, and it'd be something we could go see if we wanted to. But that's just like one way to do it, and I think there's multiple ways in, but it just like hits so many things with culture, families, engagement and stuff like that. And then, for programs like the Mandarin Immersion program that, they're interested, like, I think that we need to have, like, to your point the other day, Mike, we need to have like a clear process for criteria for like, hey, how do we establish that there's enough, interest that we think this is a maintainable program? Like, what's the procedure that people use to apply? Like, all that sort of thing, so that we can like have some clear, like what does the process look like? Because it takes a long time, and it's probably, it's frustrating for people who want their kids to come in and start when their kids are ready, because it might take longer if the program doesn't exist yet, So, I think, I feel like, I'm a little nervous about some of the statements in the packet, like when the principals are saying things like, oh, we'd like to back up from science, or we'd like to back up from this, we'd like to focus on social emotional, or have our main focus be a community school, but maybe Lakewood EQ has run its course, and maybe they're using those best practices, and they'll just be something new. Like, they don't have to force themselves to be Lakewood EQ forever, right? But I get a little nervous when people are actually backpedaling from some of the academics, like I feel like I want us to be socially, emotionally, and culturally responsive and all that stuff, but like I want it for the purpose of, getting kids excited about learning and engaging in learning, like,
So, So I guess one of the questions we really haven't answered is what is a program of choice versus what is a pilot to incubate best practices? And what do we expect to be happening at all of our schools, and what would make a program of choice unique or have added value? Because I see community schools as a model that we should have at every school.
That's right. I agree.
And so like, social emotional learning should be happening at every school. So what is it that has added value beyond incubation pay that would be sustaining and unique at a site?
May I add something to that? Just in the conversations with the principals, I want to add to what Nancy is saying. So what has come up pretty clearly, and you've addressed this in your conversations individually, but collectively, if you have a list of why. Why do we want to have a program of choice? If you can list those reasons, it would really help the sites as well, as everyone being on the same page. So the how is what we're doing, but I think that clarity on the why, and you've all addressed it in different ways about family engagement, about engaging with students, about meeting different needs. But that would be really helpful to be clear about and put together for the principals and everyone, I'm sure.
Well, and like I think some of them are just they're so different from one another. Like for example, I think Leader in Me is lovely, but I personally don't think that that's a big pull to the school versus like Juntos, which is like super clear. It's a dual immersion program, and it's it's got all this other I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like a very distinct kind of program, right? And so like, in some senses, like I think it's really good that they're questioning like what is our community. My fear with the community, like just saying, well, what does the community want? I want the community to really be informed about what some options are. Like I want to say to them, like, hey, do you want to become what do you feel would really engage you, right? Like, is it music and the arts? Is it another language? Like, what is it, right? That you feel.
And then is it the school community or is it the district community?
Yeah,
be separate, but it's those lenses that we have to take into consideration.
Right.
I think some program dynamics speak to more than just an individual community, and I would want that kind of access. And to Jeff's point, I want to elevate the intentionality about having that connection with whatever's being studied to learning and career path and choices, because I'm not every parent is an expert in every area, and they might not, while a child might have interest and excitement about it, the parents in the community may not see the relevance or connectivity with academics and or a career path of whatever choice that's being expressed. So I would like to have that be a part of the dynamic that is occurring about the added value that this has, not only in the moment, but for a lifelong career pattern. And be mindful of where they're going next. We're not the end. We are a touch point in their lifelong learning, so that when we start to think about incubating a unique program, we need to engage with our high school partners to say, hey, this is happening. We're not sure where it's going to be going, but we know that other programs that we've talked that we've had have aged up. And what pathways might you be thinking about providing for that experience to continue? They may already have some, and that would be great, but there might be some different things that may be less visible to parents and the rest of the community.
I want to make sure everyone has like one more opportunity to say one more thing. I definitely, like, my one more thing is that even if the community school, the neighborhood school isn't driving it, the kids at the neighborhood school and the families at the neighborhood school just absolutely have to be included and onboarded. It can't be like, well, this other group of kids who are gonna come in and have this really great program at this school, and that's gonna bring up the test scores of the school, because those kids are gonna do awesome. Like, it can't be like that. It has to be cooperative, collaborative, and everyone has to be able to participate. Or dovetail, like it has to be more of a, like, it still has to be a whole school, even if there are multiple programs at a school, and that program has to serve the community where it's at. So I feel very strongly about that, and I feel like it's just, and that's something that the district can help with, and the community can help with. It's gotta all be part of the same discussion, I don't know, I know we're running out of time, but I wanna make sure anyone wanna say one more thing? Isabel?
Well, I don't know, I have said a lot of things about the programs of choice during the year, and I do have a lot of support and ideas about them. Yes, there are some programs that maybe they are just best practice about the leader and me. They're just, I don't know if there's a focus in particular for a whole program. That might be just a focus for the district as leadership in the children. But I mean, some of the things that we want them is to have skills and spark in their life that will go through their, through their whole life, learning definitely another language, learning a new way, creative ways to think and experiment life, or go into a particular career because they know how to learn in a very particular way, go to know how to play violin or piano or whatever, because that's gonna not just spark their understanding and in the brain in different ways of learning math and add another skill because their brain is wired differently, but then keep that from life as part of the life. Not everybody's gonna be, I don't know, multilingual to work on the UN because they went there, or they're gonna be musicians because they went to a music program. But this is a skill that's gonna open the doors in a way of thinking, in a different way of thinking, and in a different way to move through their life more successfully. Hopefully, to learn and be better students and be more successful in their life and move through middle school and high school. Yes, a little part is the numbers, is not the center, but if we know that they are reading on level, we know that, it's a way that how the program is a little way to see how much the program has influenced their life as a student, as a learner, and how much they have been excited about coming to school, learning, and do what they need to do to move forward. That's a good way. I don't know if there is, if they are not as excited to move forward with the tech program, for example, maybe, I don't know, the way how we are depending of a particular way to make that program work.
But there's even things going back through the Hoffman Awards, right? Where we saw that one school where their program was Edenvale, every student goes to college. And it was just like they built their own program, of what it was. And, starting from kindergarten up, and then they had the 8th graders and the high school students and the college students returning. And it's just this big thing. So, yeah. But I see what you're saying about like belonging, that like people feel like, oh, this is for me, and school's for me, and I could see myself as this, and just those opportunities, right?
Yeah, because you get excited about what you're doing, and the idea is that all these students are so excited doing science that it doesn't matter what's going on in their life, they're just gonna love it. They want to stay longer, they want to do something, stay up, finishing that science book or doing that experiment for tomorrow. That's what we want to encourage. kids learning a new language and then watching TV in that language and showing up. I don't know. We want to get them excited so they don't go to sleep because they want to read another book, or they don't go to sleep because they're so excited about doing that extra thing. And that's what we want to encourage, doing science, doing technology. They want to code something and they're so happy that please stop studying so you can sleep. That's what we want to do. And that's what each of the programs, but that's the joy, having the joy, the excitement, and then all of a sudden everybody's 100% proficient and even forward, because it's so awesome that they want to do it, and the families are excited, and the families wanted to stay late. The families are asking, why cannot we come on Sunday or Saturday and do something with this, because it's so great. That's what we want. Can we have a concert Saturday morning? You know, we want them to be super excited, and that's the school we want to have. We want to have exciting programs that make everybody dying to learn and do something extra. It's too short, we want more. That's what we're looking for.
Just little things like that.
I like the energy.
So I have a process question. Mala asked a question about what our definition is. And so I know staff is kind of collecting things, but it may be helpful to set up a small board committee to curate some of those before we bring them back, and maybe even investigate what how other districts' policies look about.
Are you saying an ad hoc committee from the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That could look at things over the summertime.
Okay. So that would be, should we wait until Michelle's back to see if she wants to do it, or who
Yeah,
would be
we could bring that up at the next meeting, but Michelle hasn't been here, and so that's a part of the reason why I want to make sure that we're sharing in that voice, but that it has some actionable items rather than having the discussion and we're not sure where we're going.
That sounds great. So we'll bring that up at the next meeting. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you putting this all together for us, and it just gave us a lot to talk about, a lot to think about. And so thanks to everyone who participated. So it's like, wow. So
it's a good start.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So we are on to, where are we? Sorry, my glasses on. Okay. I totally lost the number. We're on B. Review and discuss Sunnyvale State Preschool Program self-evaluation fiscal year 2021-22. Hi.
Good evening. I'm Stacey Escobar, the Preschool Program Manager. And this
excuse me, sorry. Could you turn the mic on or move up or something? We can't quite hear you.
Can you hear now?
No.
Okay.
Or just like turn it up towards you a little.
There.
Bring it forward, just bring the mic stand forward.
There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
awesome.
Thank you. Our Sunnyvale California State Preschool programs are required each year to complete a program self-evaluation. And this is really an opportunity for us to look and analyze those areas of strength and also our areas for continued growth. The program self-evaluation is really a culmination of data we collect throughout the school year. It includes our assessment data, which is our developmental desired results developmental profile, parent summaries, our evaluation of our environmental rating scale, and also our program review instrument, which really looks at different components of compliance. We've provided a summary to you and are here to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. So basically, I don't see anyone present for a public comment. If there's anyone online, any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. Nope. Okay, Board, any questions, comments, or areas of discussion or feedback? Nancy?
Hi, I know our program design is going to change, serving younger children as we over time age in more 4-year-olds into our TK program. And so I'm wondering what supports you feel that you might need in looking at the DRDPR and the environmental, the ECHRs, that would be supportive of having younger age children within our program. And I know what the cost is that of reimbursement, but I'd really like to have a sense of how can we support you in things that are beyond just what the reimbursables are for the state, to emphasize the fact that we really want to make both this program and TK robust to try and address learning at the earliest point in time, and parent engagement at the earliest point in time they enter our system.
I appreciate your question. Really, when we look at the environmental rating scale for our preschool programs, we've always rated really high. The highest score is a 7. In most of the indicator areas, we're rating a 6 or above. So really, we're just tweaking those small improvements in our different areas. Like this year was really looking at our outdoor environment, and especially with COVID, we really wanted to extend that learning environment outside, and really this is a new opportunity for us to do more of that. As far as specific materials, I don't see specifics that we're needing at this time, because really it is that continuum of development. So we're really looking at that instructional practice. One of the things that has been really helpful is we did have a partnership this year to go a little bit deeper into different areas, and that one of them was math. We had a partnership with Digital Promise, where they came in and taught our students about using ramps and creating shadows. And so some of those I feel like are wonderful partnerships to really expand our instructional practice and help support student learning. And really looking at going through with TK this year and that expansion, I think really working as a team to go and look at the preschool learning foundations and how we support student learning. And I think it's more the instructional piece, because I feel like we have a lot of the materials available to us.
More support for PD.
We really, we're in the process of planning. Both, we're hoping to have that continuum with preschool and TK this year. We want to really dive into the preschool learning foundations, because it will be newer for the TK teachers in using that, because that's been what they're rolling out at the state level, that they really wanted to be that play-based learning environment. So we're going to dive into that and the framework that goes along with that. And then we'll be focusing on kind of that foundation of instructional practice that really focuses on that social emotional as the foundation for all learning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I did have a comment, but I just, anyone else have anything first? Okay, I just want to say I love your summary. I love the way that you guys put a story together for us. I felt like I was very well informed actually on both your items. And I felt like it was explained very well for us. We are not, I mean, like, this is not my area of expertise at all. I have no idea about your grants, but now I feel like, oh, I feel informed and I feel like I get the story. So I really appreciate it. And I think I would have had a lot more questions if you hadn't like done the summaries for me. So I really, like, it was just very well done. And I feel like a member of the public, if they ever wanted to look at it or had a question about it, they could read it and understand it really well. So I just wanted to thank you for your work on that. And it's just so clear that like, it's just very intentional, and just the, you know, your thoughts on like where you're going to improve and engaging the community partners and all that, all the things that are called out in there are just like very, it's just very thoughtfully put together, and I just want to thank you for all that work. So yeah.
And I just want to thank Stacy and Linda as well, and the board actually too, for investing in early childhood education. The fact that we have Stacy in this position is due to the vision of the board to really invest in this part of our system. And it's serving us really well now with the UPK plan that we're going to hear about in a moment. So thank you, Stacy, for your hard work and for being here and leading this.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to Linda who's teaching me everything. I cannot without her.
Sure.
Next board item?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one is C, review and discuss universal pre-kindergarten programs.
And we have members of our team here today. You guys want to come up or just come up as needed? Okay. Okay. Because the laws for
But
TKers.
Introduce your team.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. Good evening, board. I'm Linda Van Marek, Director of Special Education, and I'll be presenting our Sunnyvale School District Universal Pre-Kindergarten Plan. And to create this plan, we had quite a team working on it because there were so many elements. Here with me tonight is Stacy Escobar, who worked along with Juma Kanuga. We have Kay, couldn't be here tonight, Kay Lee. Grant Burns worked on facilities. Mary Beth Allman worked on workforce and professional development. And Jeremy and I worked on the vision. So that was our planning group. We met every Monday morning, first thing at 8 a.m. In order to present the plan that was given to you for consideration. I do want to stress for the board tonight that this plan that we presented to you will then go to the state of California for further questions. It's not meant to spell out everything. It's not saying what the report cards look like or exactly which math curriculum. It's a broad overview to show that our district is really thinking about facilities and professional development. It's our vision. So it's kind of a guiding statement for us to do right by our littlest learners. And even though it's a TK focus plan, it really talks about the preschool, the 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 continuum for our students.
Thank you. So before the board asks questions or makes comments, we're gonna open it up for public comment. Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment on this item? I see none here. If you're online, please use the raised hand feature. Okay, seeing none, board? Any thoughts or questions? Okay, Nancy?
Oh, I'm just excited that at this particular point in time, I guess I would want to call out workforce development and our continuing partnership with early childhood providers that serve our community well. And I appreciate the continuing collaboration because we know that for many families, the amount of time that we have provided instructional instruction is not enough to serve their family needs. So I appreciate the continuing partnerships that we have with members of the early childhood education component in our community. And I'm excited about the prospect of bringing more folks into the workforce through partnerships and internships that these sites will be having. So have we actually thought about in the future being part of that incubator component of having interns come and support learning in our classrooms in addition to being in the design of the early childhood full day programs that are being housed by our community partners.
Absolutely. I believe I have the answer to your question, Nancy. So part of the plan was really looking at community input and educational pathways. So actually Stacy and I took time and we met with each of our community college local early education cohorts, and we met and we advocated for designing a program not only to get their students in as para-educators, doing an internship for those that are just starting on their educational journey. But if we have a strong teacher that wants to teach TK but doesn't have the required 24 early childhood education units, we've talked with Mary Beth and I talked to San Jose State and also to our local community colleges, and they're very open to creating a coursework for our staff, and we've reached out to other districts as well to see if we could come up with a cadre of learners to get those units together. So I think that answers your question, Nancy. At least it's going in the right direction.
No, that does. Thank you. Being on the LPC, we talk about a lot of different things, and I just wanted to thank you and appreciate who I needed to thank as well in those collaborative conversations that I have out in the community.
So, Board, any other questions? I have like two quick questions.
I have a comment on behalf of Michelle.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Michelle shared her comments with me, and so I'll read it here. Michelle is concerned about learning opportunities being available at all schools, not just Title I schools. And so she points out that Ellis is almost twice as large as some of our smaller schools, but that means that there's the same number of low-income or Title I students at those schools. We want to make sure that we keep that in mind when we plan.
Yeah, thank you. Part of the plan is that we must provide 9 hours of care, part of that being the TK section of the day in the classroom, to provide our families time to work in the community or, well, what are their needs? Well, we did some surveying. Stacey, do you want to talk about the survey with our state preschool? Sure. And then I'll get back to Michelle's concern.
We did survey the students who are currently enrolled in our California State Preschool program, and we found that over 78% of families said that they wanted TK versus staying in a 2.5 hour state preschool program.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
78% of our families wanted the full TK day versus staying in a half-day CSPP program. And then we did find that there was over 60%, I think it was even higher than that, wanted both before and after school care to be part of that day.
And so that being said, when we think about the way that our demographics are in our district, we're required to provide that 9 hour of care, which we now know is before and after school for our community needs. And we need to do that for half of our enrolled students. And that's based just on our non-duplicated student count. And so as we grow over the years and we have more and more students enrolled in TK, we will be expanding that all-day opportunity to more and more sites. So I absolutely feel that we will be offering that at Ellis and other sites, just not for next year.
I want to add on to that. So a few years ago, like right before the pandemic, maybe someone came in from the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and they shared with us as a board that there were, I want to say 300 children who were eligible for subsidized preschool in 94087, which is Cherry Chase, Cumberland, some of Vargas maybe, but for sure Cherry Chase and Cumberland. There were that many children who were eligible for state-funded preschool who had absolutely no preschool at all. And, we're probably like, if they were lucky, sitting with somebody watching TV or something, So, I've read in your report that as you went around to the different school sites, that almost every site council said, yeah, we would love a full day care at the school. We could use it. So will you be working with the county to determine eligibility, or are you counting on self-reporting? Like, how do you get the number for like determining how many seats you're thinking of putting in different schools or locations? Like, are you just going off of, because Do you know what my question is?
I think if I could clarify, are you talking about our 3-year-olds or TK specific?
Well, I'm talking about, in general, I think he was talking about preschool, but now we're talking about TK.
And it's all kind
So
of
it's kind of
together.
like,
Yeah.
you know, those kids are older now. They're probably like in our first grade or kindergarten or first grade right now. I mean, I don't know. But I just was thinking that there are families in these areas which are, you know, a little bit hidden maybe, or spread out in different pockets that are just underserved where they are geographically.
Yeah, and we have had the Santa Clara County, they have a referral agency that we're associated with, and it's hard, you know, Stacy and our administrative assistants went to visit the library, and we went to not only our school sites, but Columbia Neighborhood Center, and where else did you go? We did a road show, and we brought flyers, and we said, here we are. Every time I see a parent walk in with a 3-year-old, I say, oh, do you know about our preschool? Because of COVID and what's been going on, it's been such a challenge having parents feel safe in getting our enrollment, and that's across our whole county. Every director of the preschool program I speak with, it's a challenge getting those numbers up. And so I hear you, marketing is tough, and letting them know we've got a free program for your child.
But like they must have gotten that number from somewhere. So does the county tell you numbers? Like, or do they just?
There's a website where it talks about birth rates, and so like the demographics of each age in each zip code.
I see.
In Santa Clara County, so that's where that number came from.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then they know how many licenses are held by family home centers and then subsidized state preschool centers.
Okay, and then the only other thing was, I think it was under one of the check boxes where for the plan, it was like at each site, like we'll have this at each site, and then there was like a little question mark. It was like in a funny little red box where it was a question mark, and I didn't know if it was like, is it because we'll eventually be at each site, but we're not entirely sure, or?
Brent, would you like to address that?
Sure. So right now it's kind of been our intention to have TK at each one of our elementary schools. But depending on capacity and enrollment, that's why that question mark remained. Does that answer your question?
We may have to review.
Oh. Because they couldn't hear because he wasn't on the microphone. Hey, can you sit that into a microphone?
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, so the intention is to have TK at every elementary school, but still going through the development of the entire plan. It will come down to enrollment as well as existing facilities and our ability to expand on our campuses. So that's why it's not a definitive, yes, we'll be at every school, but it is the intention of the district to be offer TK at each one of our sites.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good catch, yeah. Okay, anything else for anyone else? Oh, Nancy, your hand's up. Is it up from before or new?
What? It's new.
Okay.
It's answering your question. The local planning council is required to put out a zip code analysis every cycle. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, there hasn't been an accurate counting done. And so we're relying on old information. We've let the state know about this, but that's where the number comes from. What the number is currently, I can't affirm that. There have been a lot of families who've moved in one way or another, but you're right that we have underserved families in our particular area, which may be a surprise given the perception that all of Sunnyvale is highly affluent. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if I could just point out to the board how amazing the TK task force was. They were so giving of their time. It's a crazy time of year, and we've jumped in. I think we've been working on it since right after the December break, and the state asked a lot of us in a very short amount of time. And we needed a lot of experts at the table. We feel really good about the vision that we put together. I feel like it represents our school district and our values. But I just really want you to just give love to the team because they pulled it together.
And let's start with the leader. You've done a really good job building.
Thank you. Thank you so much, we appreciate it.
That being said, with Mike's suggestion, I'm going to also just speak briefly about item H because it's connected to TK.
Okay.
This is board policy 6170.1.
Well, can we do that or no?
You would have to amend the agenda,
Oh, okay, so,
but you could, because then she could go home after we
Yeah.
do this.
so,
I move to amend the agenda so we can talk about item H right now.
Perfect.
do we have a second?
Second that.
Excellent,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Well,
Isabel
now we have
and
to vote.
Jeff.
Oh, now we have to vote, oh yeah, any discussion? Let's vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Here we go.
Excellent.
Thank you, board. At this time, I'd like to just briefly highlight board policy 6170.1. We will be presenting something a little different than what was in the board packet. And the reason that we are revising that board policy is because we have learned so much from our TK task force meetings and their new guidelines that weren't in place before. And so just today wanted to highlight that you will be getting a revised copy that we can then discuss later.
Yeah, and some of the major differences is, so like I sent you an email just before the meeting and I apologize that was so late. But so the major clarifications are that the state gave us flexibility for the length of the day. We're choosing to have a full day TK program. So instead of being ambiguous, we're going to write that in. And then the other thing was there was ambiguous language about, are you going to follow a kindergarten, Common Core standards curriculum or more of a preschool set of standards? And we're moving towards the preschool. So that's the gist of it.
Right.
And then we'll be reflected in a revised board policy that will.
Yeah, the state's newly defined what the appropriate standards are for the plan that we've developed.
Great. Any public comment on this item? I don't see any present. If there's anyone online who'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature now. Oh. We're back. Okay, seeing none, are there none? Is that correct? No, okay, so board, any comments? Item H, okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna move on to item D, review and discuss bylaw 9220 governing board elections. Dr. Gallagher.
Okay, so this bylaw has been updated to adhere to changes to the at-large elections to by trustee area elections. And so that's the gist of it.
Okay. This is a bylaw update and board discussion, so there's no presentation. We'll take public comments. If there's any at this time, please use your raised hand feature now. Seeing none, board, any comments, questions, or areas of discussion or feedback? Nope, okay. Thank you so much. Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, there was one, I'm sorry. There was one thing that Michelle asked me to bring up.
Okay.
She put this in packet review and I didn't understand the question. So she asked that instead of using the words represented by,
right,
that we change it to basically say that each trustee area will elect a person from their geographical boundaries and area. And I think we can make that change. So we'll reflect that change when we bring it back.
That's great. That's much clearer. I think that fits in with the plan of, the whole district thing. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, we're on to item E, review and discuss board policy 5148.2 before and after school programs. Dr. Dean.
Thank you for that signal. Coming to you with this, this is reflecting for updates for new law AB 130 And a little bit of some of those concepts that you've kind of heard even in the TK, even though directly related, is a part of this as well. But nonetheless, it's about expanding learning opportunities for students after school and at other times during the day. Very similar to some of your discussions about options for students. Looking at access to at least 50% of those who enrolled and unduplicated, as you heard in the earlier presentation, and looking at commencing that in the 2022-23 school year. We could be coming back to you for an additional update because this could also be changing it again for us, but at this time it is the 9 hours that we've talked about. And so just coming for you to take a look at this policy and review and discuss any items or questions that you might have with regards to it.
Thank you. So this is a written policy update for board discussion. There's no presentation. We'll take public comments now. If there's any member of the public who would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature. No. Okay, seeing none. Board, any questions, comments, or feedback? No, that's great. Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate that. And we're on to item F, review and discuss board policy 6120, multi-tiered systems of support. Dr. Dean.
Yes, thank you. So this is just about updating and integrating. Fortunately for us as a district, it wasn't so much an update for our practice, but just getting our policy to catch up with us, but then also with the updated policy. So the emphasis on, in addition to being focused on learning outcomes for students, also looking at the behavioral outcomes and also the intentional progress monitoring as it relates to instruction and intervention for students. So the idea is just to be sure that we're looking at social-emotional well-being as well as instructions and behavioral outcomes and providing interventions with regards to components of MTSS as identified by California Department of Education. So again, coming for you for an opportunity to review and discuss any items you have related to this policy.
Thank you. If there's any member of the public who'd like to comment on this item, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none, board, any questions or comments on this? Nope, seeing none, we're all set. Can we bring that, those back on consent? Is that right? Okay. Okay, excellent. And then we'll look at board review and discuss board policy item 6142, comprehensive health education. Dr. Dean, item G.
Thank you. So this is to, again, updating our policy to coincide with updates that are coming to us, but also to align with the work that we're doing here in the district. Basically with regards to the framework of health education, emphasizing physical, mental, and social well-being of students, and the integration of health and other support areas with regards to the district's curriculum. So an opportunity for students to K through 12 is what's listed here. Of course, our emphasis is our K through 8 programs, but focusing in on sexual abuse, sexual assault awareness, prevention are some of the updates to this sexual education programming that we're offering. And so again, coming to you to review and discuss this policy 6142.8 with any items.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment or on this item? Please use the raised hand feature. Okay, board, anything to discuss? No. You know, a couple of years ago, I did see this really awesome presentation from I think it was the YWCA on. It was at Fremont High School, but it was a program they were doing to prevent, like it was a boys club program sort of thing where they would talk to young men about not just consent, but also like just, you know, basically, well, mostly about consent, but just trying to prevent abuse kind of with teenage boys. And they were going into middle schools and high schools. And I just remember seeing that program and thinking, oh, this would just be so, you know, affirming and positive because they did it in kind of a cool way. And then, you know, the pandemic happened and everything, but I'm really looking forward to, I know that this is going to be done in a really age appropriate way. And I'm really hopeful that we can make a change in this area because it's a huge area of concern.
And just to add, yeah, both at the elementary and middle school, the programming, those are aspects that they do touch upon, but of course developmentally appropriate for the youth that are participating in the programs.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Okay, thank you. And all right, we're on to item 12, review and action. Is that right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, okay, because we did H. Okay, item 12, review and action. Approval of resolution R22-19 in the matter of order of election, specification of the election order, and consolidation request. Dr. Gallagher.
Yes, so this is the official resolution that we need to take to call for the election that's coming up. And so I ask for your approval of this resolution.
Great. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this item? Please use the raise hand feature. Nope, seeing none. Board, any comments or questions?
I move to approve resolution R22-19 in the matter of order of election, the specification of the election order and consolidation request.
I second that.
Thank you. Okay, board, any discussion? Oh, Nancy, you lit up. Do you want to make a comment? Okay, board, any discussion?
You may want to check in with her. I don't know.
Oh, I can't contact, so.
Yeah.
So I think it's a Brown Act violation
Right,
if I were to text her.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. Hello,
Okay,
sorry.
great.
Sorry, my devices are failing here rapidly. The only thing is that it's challenging that the cost of elections are going up, but I'm appreciative that we have resources to try and manage some of those costs.
Thank you. Okay, board, in this review and action, so all those in favor of approval? Please say aye. Chair votes aye, so it passes. Yay. We can have an election.
We'll have an election.
Okay, now we're to the fun stuff. Item B, the 2021-2022 Classified Employee of the Year nominations. I think first, before I hand it over to you, I have to say, is there any member of the public, right? They comment on this as well?
Sure.
In general, any members of the public who would like to comment on this, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none, Dr. Gallagher.
Actually, I need to let Jeremy take this one.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, it is my pleasure to bring forward the slate of the 21-22 Classified Employees of the Year. Just as a quick recap, we do this annually, each school site, and actually recently we've made sure that we're including preschool as well as the Iowa campus. Bring forward nominees, and each site has its nominee to be considered for the district. So in the board agenda is the list of our outstanding classified employees who were identified by their peers and selected for their site, who were submitted for the district. It is my pleasure now to hand you the envelope, the secret envelope, and we're going to use the old pony way to do this. Here we go, we're going to hand it down. So here is the classified winner for this year for the district. And it is my recommendation that you open it up and read the recommendations, which will reveal the winner. So we are getting this down.
Excellent.
Who might be listening on YouTube.
Okay, so the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the selection of Sharmila Belmuragan Iowa campus as the 2021-2022 Sunnyvale School District Classified Employee of the Year. Yay, congratulations, Sharla. That's so exciting. Awesome. Okay, well,
And so what does Sharmila do?
She's a student technician in the Department of Special Ed and Student Services. So amazing, all kinds of wonderful things.
I see her everywhere.
Yes.
She's like, she's at every event thing, helping in some way, doing something. She's amazing.
She's just amazing in many ways.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's very exciting.
Yep.
So I'm gonna hand you your envelope back.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, so now we're on to the next item.
Now we have to vote on it.
Oh, we have to
Oh,
vote on it? We get to vote, okay, so, do I have a motion? Or do we need a motion? I need a motion.
I move to approve the classified employee of the year nominations and election, right? Yes.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. All those in favor? Oh, any discussion? This is so crazy.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I agree. Okay, all those in
Are we
favor?
trying to actually keep a secret until you go out and visit the sites tomorrow?
It's the first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so try to keep it, try to keep it quiet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're getting a little tired here, so I
Okay,
can
this
tell,
is fun. This is
sorry.
the fun stuff.
You have 3 of them to perfect.
I know, that's okay. Excellent. Okay, so we're on to item C. 2021-2022 Teacher of the Year nominations.
Yes, similarly to the classified process, we also have each school site, including the Iowa campus and preschool, select a nominee for one teacher, certificated employee from the site, which they're all presented for the district employee of the year or teacher of the year to represent the district for the 22-23 school year. So we're getting this down. Bridget, I will hand you the confidential envelope for teacher of the year.
Yeah, next year we'll look at some music for this. This will be really good. Okay, excellent. All right. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the selection of Lindsay, is it Shay or Shoy?
Choi.
Lindsay Choi, Columbia Middle School, as the 2021-2022 Sunnyvale School District Teacher of the Year. Okay,
Yay.
congratulations, yay. Okay, board, do I have
Public comment.
public comment? Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this item? Top secret item.
Yeah.
No, okay.
I move to approve the selection of Lindsay Choi as the.
I'll second that.
Excellent, board, any discussion? Congratulations, Lindsay, yay. Yay. What'd you say?
Aye.
Okay, let's vote aye. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, it passes, thank you. This is getting worse. It's
That's
not
okay.
good. I'm sorry.
He thinks the streaming is gonna have to cause us to rethink this confidential process, right?
Okay, that's
All
right.
No worries.
No one's,
We're having a blast.
no one's watching, it's fine. Okay, well, maybe Lindsay is. Hopefully she's excited as we are. Okay, so, okay, 2020, item D, 2021-2022 Management Team Member of the Year nominations. Okay, it's getting real here.
Yes, all right, this is getting real. A little bit different than the certificated and classified employee processes. Management nominees are selected by their peers and then submitted to cabinet for our consideration. So we met to discuss the 5 outstanding nominees that are presented for you in the board packet. And it is my pleasure to now hand down the final envelope this evening, confidential envelope down, to announce our management member of the year.
Okay, thank you very much.
This one's going smoother, Bridget, well done.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the selection of Mary Beth Allman, Director of Human Resources, as the 2021-2022 Sunnyvale School District Management Team Member of the Year.
Thank you for whispering that. I don't
Mary Beth Allman, who's sitting right over there.
Did you not know you were nominated?
No.
Oh, okay. It was part of the public public record, just so you know.
Okay, so is there any member of the public who would love to comment on this agenda item? And seeing none, board, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the election and the nomination of the management team member of the year.
I'll second.
Excellent. Discussion?
Congratulations.
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 Okay, board, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nancy's lit up.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes aye, and with that, the motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Congratulations for that.
I can't, in all sincerity, I cannot imagine a more deserving member in a particular year.
Oh,
Absolutely.
We didn't even know she was nominated, but yeah, HR keeps secrets really well. So we can really appreciate. Bridget, if I could just remind everyone, then we will be recognizing the classified, certificated, and management nominees and winners at our in-person employee celebration on June 1st, Wednesday. It'll be at 4 o'clock at Mission.
excellent.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again to everyone who won, even though they're probably not watching it, don't know. But you could tell them we said that tomorrow. It's fine. Okay, so we're on to item 13, consent agenda items. Any item on the consent agenda is subject to review and discussion prior to being approved by the board. If necessary, any items may be removed for separate action. The public may address the board regarding any items on the consent agenda. If there's any member of the public who would like to speak on this item, please use the raised hand feature now. No. Okay, would the board like to pull any item for separate consideration?
I move to approve the agenda, no, the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Oh, sorry. Yes,
Table item F, please.
table item F.
So I move to approve the consent agenda, tabling item F.
Thank you.
Okay, just a second.
Yes, I say.
Okay, super. Any discussion? No, all those in favor?
We're just
please-
tabling that for,
For the next meeting.
okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and the consent agenda is passed minus item F. There's an information agenda. Item 15 is future meetings and adjournment.
I have a comment on that from Michelle.
Okay,
Okay, and this is the last one.
no, well, I hope so.
So this regards the August meeting schedule. You can think about it if you like. She realized that she can just join the meeting virtually on August 11th. Remember, we reversed the 4th and 11th. She can attend on the 11th. Her flights got changed, so now the August 4th meeting is trickier, and August 11th was easier if it's still easier for everyone. She'd prefer to do it on August 11th instead of the 4th. So
Okay,
think about that and maybe come back and we'll make a decision next time.
okay,
Okay?
that sounds good. Any other things from the board? Okay, next meeting is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. in regular board meeting in the district office boardroom and on Zoom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I adjourn the meeting at 9:45. Thank you.
I have a list.
Yeah, really good list.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks.
Thank you, Monica, Fabiola.
Thank you. Good night. She was.